Welcome to the Just Nuke Eat podcast.
Yeah.
This week, we've got a really, interesting pairing
Yeah.
for our apocalyptic probe.
Absolutely.
Two wildly different flash fiction stories that, they kind of throw us right into these like blockbuster end of the world scenarios.
Right.
We're talking monsters, pirates,
Yeah.
and the potential,
Annihilation.
for just complete and utter annihilation.
It's really something. When you think about how much you can cover in a story like this, like how much imaginative ground in just a few pages, especially when we're talking about these like monumental, huge end of the world kind of like themes.
Right. And the first story that that you flagged for us, Grendel's Ken.
Yeah.
It's a really unique spin on the Beowulf legend.
It is.
Right. So we have, this aging hero, Beowulf, who's, facing, not just another monster,
Right.
like an apocalyptic tide of monsters, right?
Yeah.
It's relentless.
Yeah. And what really gets me is that it's not, it's not Beowulf at his peak.
No.
We see him now with the weight of age, with experience, facing a threat that almost makes Grendel, seems small in comparison,
Right.
It really makes you think about how
Yeah.
the nature of threats can change.
Yeah.
That even a hero like Beowulf, a legend, could find himself up against something that's just totally unprecedented.
And one of the things that struck me immediately about this story was that it really flips the script on what we expect from like a Beowulf tale.
Total.
It's not about this, this individual glory in slaying monsters.
No.
It's about trying to understand the root of this like monstrous apocalypse.
And it's not just about brute force anymore.
Right.
He's
relying on more than just strength now.
there's cunning. Right.
Yes, there's a cunning to his approach.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting, right?
Okay.
He observes fear in the eyes of these monsters.
Yeah, fear.
Fear.
Yeah.
Like, what could possibly be terrifying them?
I know.
It really subverts our expectations.
Totally.
And it challenges that, like, simple good versus evil dynamic
It really does.
that we see in a lot of these kinds of stories.
Absolutely. And that detail,
Yeah.
the monster sphere, it's like a pivot point for the whole story, right?
Yeah.
Because suddenly they're not the ultimate source of terror.
Right.
They might be victims themselves, fleeing from something even more cataclysmic.
It makes you wonder what's out there, right? What's
Yes.
bigger than them?
Yeah, it makes you consider
Yeah.
that there might be a larger, more complex threat lurking beyond just the immediate threat of these monsters.
And that larger threat begins to materialize
Yes.
through Beowulf's dreams.
Oh, yeah.
He starts having these visions of this vast, pulsing shadow at the world's edge.
Right, right.
And his quest then takes him east
Yes.
toward these desolate, almost mythical lands
I know.
that are marked like with warnings of dragons on old maps.
Right, like it's a journey into the unknown.
Yeah.
It really is.
And this journey itself, it feels really significant.
Yeah.
It highlights his vulnerability
Yeah.
in his old age.
Totally. It's a departure from the typical,
Yeah.
heroic landscape.
Yeah.
And those warnings of dragons
Yes.
on the maps,
Yeah.
they aren't just historical curiosities.
Right.
They foreshadow
Yeah.
the almost primal nature of the darkness he's pursuing.
And when he finally reaches the source of this, this monstrous power,
Yeah.
it's not what you'd expect.
No.
It's not what you'd expect at all.
So what is it?
He finds this bubbling obsidian spring
Oh, wow.
in this completely desolate wasteland.
So it's like this wellspring.
Yeah. Yeah. And you think, okay, well, this must be it.
Right.
This must be the source of all this evil.
Right.
But it's not even that.
No.
No.
Oh, wow.
The ultimate evil emerges from a chasm.
Okay.
This creature that's described as less flesh and blood
I see.
and more like a storm.
Oh.
This very shadow from his dreams.
Oh, wow. So
It's not a tangible beast that you
Right.
can just,
run a sword through.
run a sword through and defeat it.
That phrase, less flesh than a storm,
Yeah.
is so powerful because it
Right.
goes beyond what we think of as a monster, right?
Yeah.
Into something almost abstract, like it's a fundamental force of destruction, right?
Yes.
The obsidian spring, it's like a conduit,
Yeah.
a focal point for this, but the real horror
Yeah.
lies in its amorphous, almost conceptual nature.
And this leads Beowulf to this shocking realization.
Okay.
He realizes that this creature, this storm of shadow, is the world's hunger made manifest.
Right.
And here's the real twist.
Okay.
It's fueled by the very act of fighting monsters.
Oh, wow.
Like his past glories, all those victories could have inadvertently contributed to the rise of this apocalyptic entity.
That is profound.
It's a really unsettling thought, isn't it?
It really is. And it kind of makes you think about, you know, our own actions, you know, how we might be contributing to the very things we're fighting against, you know.
It completely reframes his whole legendary career.
It does.
Like everything he's ever done has led to this.
Wow.
And his response to this realization is equally unexpected.
Okay.
He doesn't, you know, draw his sword for this one last epic battle.
Yeah.
He sheaths it.
He does.
And he reaches out to the creature.
Really?
He sees a reflection of humanity's own, you know, destructive tendencies.
Yeah.
In its monstrous form.
That's amazing.
And that moment of connection, that touch, results in this seeping cold.
Right.
And this transfer of something from Beowulf to the creature.
Okay.
It's not really clear what it is.
Is it like courage?
It could be courage. It could be, you know.
Or wisdom.
Wisdom. It could be the very essence of the human spirit.
It's like he's trying to reach it.
Yeah.
On some level. To connect with it, to maybe even change it.
In the ending, it's so ambiguous.
Yeah.
Beowulf dies.
He dies.
Unsung.
Oh.
You know, his heroic deeds in this final act.
Yeah.
Unknown.
Okay.
But the creature cradles him.
It does.
Yeah, and there's this glimmer of hope that maybe, you know,
it
might turn back, carrying a fragment of his wisdom, his courage.
Wow.
And the story ends with this possibility that his sacrifice might have lessened this world-ending hunger.
I mean, that really challenges our conventional understanding of what a hero is, you know? It's not about glory recognition. It's about this incredible act of empathy, this self-sacrifice.
And it really makes you think about, you know, what is heroism?
Yes.
And what is the true cost of all these battles that we fight?
And whether such an act can really alter something as fundamental as a force of nature, a force of destruction.
It's a really powerful story.
It is.
So let's shift gears a little bit. Okay. We're going to go from this sort of like mythical ancient apocalypse to something a bit more, you know.
Swashbuckling.
Swashbuckling, but no less world ending.
Okay.
You also sent us The Devil's Due.
Yes.
Which throws Long John Silver and Jim Hawkins back together again.
Oh, I love those characters.
In the most unexpected of circumstances.
What happens?
Well, this time, it's not buried treasure.
Okay.
It's Treasure Island itself.
Okay.
That holds something far more dangerous.
Right. An ancient entity that could potentially destroy everything.
Wow.
Talk about a reluctant reunion.
It really is. You know, Silver and Hawkins always had that, like, interesting back and forth, you know, betrayal and respect and this weird sort of affection, you know.
They have a very complex relationship.
Yeah, and putting that at the center of a story like this immediately raises the stakes.
Yeah.
Way beyond just some pirate adventure.
Exactly. This is about the fate of the world.
So we then learn about this shadowy council.
Oh.
And this chilling revelation that Treasure Island isn't just someplace with gold.
Okay.
It's actually a magical prison.
Wow.
Holding back this incredibly destructive force.
I see.
And of course there's a cult that's aiming to unleash it.
Of course.
Foolishly believing that they can control it.
Oh, that never goes well.
Right.
Yeah, the introduction of magic, you know, into this familiar setting really adds a layer of like lore and cosmic horror, you know?
It's true, and it just completely ups the ante.
It does.
It's no longer about, you know, doubloons and pieces of 8.
No.
This is about, you know, the end of everything.
And that cult, you know, believing they can command this power, it's such a classic trope. But it always works because it shows that human hubris, you know, in the face of something we just don't understand.
And so what's a good adventure story without, you know...
A crew?
A crew, right.
Yes.
So Silver, ever the pragmatist, assembles his crew.
Of course he does.
This, you know, motley bunch of old shipmates.
Right.
A scholar who can decipher ancient symbols.
Oh, wow.
And even a descendant of Captain Flint.
Really?
Like, it's that familiar trope of the pirate crew.
Yeah.
But they're on this completely new world-saving mission.
I love that. It's so clever to, like, ground this crazy scenario in something familiar, you know?
Yeah, you get that sense of adventure.
Totally. And Flint's descendant adds a layer of,
History.
Yeah. Like the island's past is connected to this danger.
Exactly.
And, who knows what'll happen with all these personalities together.
Yeah, there's bound to be some,
Yeah, conflict
and some,
alliances, yeah.
Yeah, unexpected alliances.
Right.
So their return to Treasure Island is predictably fraught with danger.
Of course.
I mean, there are deadly traps. There are these unsettling shadows lurking within this ancient tomb.
Right.
And, this journey down into the heart of the island.
Yeah.
It echoes Beowulf's journey to that wasteland, doesn't it?
It really does. It's like this...
It's this descent into the unknown.
Yeah, this descent into the unknown to face this, primal threat.
Yeah.
The traps and shadows are just the beginning, right?
Yeah.
They foreshadow the real danger waiting for them.
Exactly.
And at the center.
And the treasure that they find is anything but gold.
Oh, so what is it?
At the island's core,
Yeah.
they find this writhing mass of darkness.
Okay.
This imprisoned entity.
Right.
And as expected, the cultists' attempt to control it goes horribly wrong.
Oh, I bet.
Highlighting the just sheer folly of trying to command forces that you can't even comprehend.
I mean, it's like a reminder that some things are just beyond our control.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's dangerous to think otherwise.
And what follows is this really interesting blend of swashbuckling action and arcane rituals.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
So you've got Silver and his crew battling this unleashed entity with good old-fashioned steel.
Right.
But then you have Jim, aided by the scholar, trying to rebind it using ancient magic.
Wow, it's like they're fighting on two fronts.
Yeah.
The physical and the mystical.
It's a very unique apocalyptic showdown.
It really is. It's like mixing genre, like the gritty pirate adventure with this mystical ancient magic creates this really
dynamic
narrative.
And unpredictable, too.
Absolutely.
You never know what's going to happen next.
And the battle takes its toll.
Oh.
Crew members die.
Okay.
Silver is seriously injured.
Oh, no.
But their combined efforts, including a crucial distraction by Flint's descendant, buy Jim the time he needs to complete the binding ritual.
Wow.
And there's this real sense of sacrifice. Yes.
Among the crew.
Right. It shows how dire the situation is.
Yeah.
They're willing to give their lives.
Exactly.
Even Flint's descendant finds a purpose beyond just piracy. It's like in the face of this, world-ending threat. Yeah. Even the most unlikely people can become heroes.
Yeah, and it all culminates in this really, Pyrrhic victory and this desperate escape.
Okay.
So they manage to contain the entity.
Okay.
But the island itself starts to sink.
Oh, wow.
And in the midst of all this chaos, Silver and Jim share this moment of exhausted camaraderie.
That's interesting.
Yeah, despite their history.
Yeah, it's like they've been through something together that transcends
their past,
their differences.
And they try to escape on this waiting Navy ship.
Okay.
But their escape is cut short.
Oh, no.
By the island's dramatic collapse.
Wow.
And the story ends with them, on this crumbling island.
Yeah. So we don't know if they survived.
Their fate is completely uncertain.
It's like the ending of Grendel's Kin.
Yeah.
Where we're left wondering.
It's ambiguous.
Yeah, ambiguous.
What do you think this shared uncertainty across these two very different apocalyptic scenarios
it's interesting.
might suggest to us?
I don't know. Maybe it's saying that surviving in an apocalypse isn't a clean victory.
Yeah.
There's always the sense of unresolved questions, lingering consequences, and that the world, at least their world, has changed forever.
It's really interesting how both stories explore these unexpected paths to survival and sacrifice.
Absolutely.
In Grendel's Kin, it's empathy over violence.
Yes.
In The Devil's Due.
Yeah.
It's this unlikely alliance born of necessity.
I was so struck by Grendel's Kin, how it made me think about how sometimes our efforts to fight evil can actually make things worse.
Right.
In ways we don't anticipate.
Unintended consequences.
Yeah, unintended consequences. It's a really thought-provoking idea.
And The Devil's Due.
Yeah.
It really shows how even the deepest animosities can be overcome when,
when everything's at stake.
when everything's on the line.
Right, our very survival.
So what resonated most with you
Hmm.
as we took this apocalyptic probe
Yeah.
into these two flash fiction stories?
Well, I was really blown away by Beowulf's final act,
Yeah.
choosing understanding over violence,
Yeah.
That really surprised me.
Yeah, and were you on the edge of your seat?
Oh, absolutely.
Imagining,
Yeah,
Silver and Hawkins battling that ancient darkness.
totally. I could picture it so vividly,
Yeah.
the clash of steel, the ancient rituals.
Yeah, it's really,
Yeah,
they're short tales, but they pack a punch
they do.
when it comes to exploring the
Yeah.
nature of destruction,
Absolutely.
sacrifice, and where we might find hope
Right.
when facing the end of the world.
It really got me thinking about what a threat really is, In Grendel's kin, it wasn't just the monsters, it was this deeper
Yeah.
hunger, almost like a metaphysical thing.
Right.
And in The Devil's Due, it wasn't just the entity, it was that human desire
Right.
to control something beyond our understanding.
Right. We think we can control it, but we really can't.
Exactly.
So we hope this apocalyptic probe
Yeah.
into these two captivating flash fiction stories
Right.
has offered you some, surprising insights.
Yeah.
And some memorable moments.
Absolutely.
We encourage you to seek out more
Yes.
of these concise and imaginative tales.
Yes, and think about it yourself.
Yeah.
Like, what would you do?
Yeah, what if?
What if you were facing the end of the world?
What kind of unlikely alliances would you have to make?
What hidden strengths might you discover?
Yeah.
And how would you define heroism?
In the face of the apocalypse.
Thank you for joining us for this apocalyptic probe
Yeah, thanks for having me.
on the Just Nuke It podcast.
Absolutely.
Rate and follow the show for more captivating stories.
Yes, please do.
And wild end-of-the-world dives.
We'll see you next time.
What kind of apocalyptic visions
Yeah.
should we explore next?
Let us know.
Let us know.